You're watching your local election headquarters. An ABC4 News Town Hall special, America in Crisis, a positive path forward.
Welcome back to America in Crisis, a positive path forward. The U.S. has spent trillions on the pandemic response and multiple relief packages, but the crisis is not over yet. So should lowering the national debt still be a priority for lawmakers? Utah Senator Mike Lee joining me once again to discuss what the country's financial future could look like. Senator, let's dig right into that. $25 trillion and growing at its amount most of us can't even comprehend. We have added to that through stimulus checks and helping our local businesses out throughout the country. Is that an appropriate way to add to the national debt at this moment in time?
I don't think anyone doubts, Glenn, that in a circumstance amounting to a crisis, it might be appropriate for the government to spend more than it would otherwise spend for a short period of time. But I think that's important to remember, is that after that initial phase is over, we can't make this the new normal. We can't go around spending in $2.5 trillion increments on a regular basis. This simply isn't sustainable. In the longer haul, I think we've got to make more out of less. We've got to make do by not spending as much through the federal government. Among other things, I think we've got to look for ways to bring down some of the costs that government faces, including through things like healthcare. Our long-term mandatory spending isn't affordable, it's not sustainable. And if we don't get a handle on it now, it's going to end up harming America's poor and middle class more than anyone else.
So, Senator, this conversation you and I have had in the past, and we've had this very same conversation with these words spoken. We've heard the president talk about chipping away at this. Almost, most people in Utah want to see this chipped away. So what are additional specifics that we can start doing to where we can actually start to see it go down as opposed to continuing to skyrocket like it is now?
Look, Glenn, my biggest concern right now is to not add to it more, than we absolutely have to. We're going to be experiencing an absolutely unprecedented national deficit this year. So as far as chipping away at it goes, that's not going to happen this year, certainly. It's not going to happen anytime in the near foreseeable future. The best we can hope for right now is to keep it from increasing any further than it has, and then making sure that our economy grows faster than the rate of growth of government spending. Once we get to that inflection point, and if we can hold to that, we can whittle our national debt over time down to a point where it's manageable and where we can eventually pay it off. It's never going to occur as a result solely of cuts to government spending, nor is this something that can be done overnight.
So what would be a realistic time frame to start getting that in check and moving in the opposite direction?
Yeah. Anytime Congress looks at these issues, it tends to look over a 10-year budgetary horizon. When it measures the impact of changes to tax laws, entitlement laws, or any other significant any other government program or legislative change, it's going to alter the amount of money going in or going out. We tend to look at the 10-year budgetary window. And I think that's a reasonable window within which to address it. I've also said for a long time, one of the things that I think we need is to enact a constitutional amendment that makes it more difficult for Congress to expand the size of the debt. And that the only way you could overcome that would be through a 2/3 supermajority vote in both houses of Congress. My version of that constitutional amendment, once it took effect, would take 5 years to where it would fully kick in. It would probably take, at a minimum, 2, 3, 4 years in order for something like that to get ratified by the states. So you'd be looking at about a 10-year window anyway.
All right, that does it for our conversation on the debt. We're going to have more with the senator coming up. We're going to take a closer look at how the government has responded to the pandemic and how Senator Lee hopes to shape that response going forward. That's next. Stay with us.